Hello, and welcome to the Bronx Chronicle Public Forum for the Democratic primary election of the 78th Assembly District between the incumbent Assemblyman Jose Rivera and candidate Fernando Tirado. This is our first forum, and as many of you know, there was a bit of controversy in the run-up to this point. But in the interest of democracy, we were determined to see it through. Devil Dog Incorporated, a veteran support nonprofit started by Gonzalo Duran that helps veterans transition into civilian sector through recreational activities, access to resources and housing assistance, graciously offered their space, and we immediately accepted. We thank Gonzalo for the use of this venue and for his support of the democratic process. If you or someone you know is a veteran in the Bronx who would appreciate the support and transition into civilian life, or would just like to connect with fellow veterans in the Bronx, you can visit Devil Dog USA at devildogusainc.org or call 516-515-0240. We have been asking both the candidates a set of questions. However, and unfortunately, the incumbent Assemblyman Jose Rivera has failed to show. He has further ignored all of our invites and never responded to any of our inquiries. From what we understand, this has been the third outlet he has snubbed, and the Bronx Chronicle finds this complete disregard for the democratic process disappointing. That being said, and despite the past controversy, the forum goes on, and Mr. Rivera will be represented by an empty chair. I now want to introduce the candidate for the 78th Assembly District for the state of New York, Mr. Fernando Tirado.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate that very much.
Good to meet you finally.
Thank you. I very much appreciate Devil Dog USA Inc. for opening up their doors and for allowing this forum to go forward. I appreciate you and the Chronicle for hosting this a second time. And hopefully we can have a spirited debate or at least answer some questions.
We're going to have a good conversation about this district, this special district, if you will.
Thank you.
And your leadership abilities. Our first question, if you don't mind, why would you be the best choice to represent the 78th Assembly District?
I feel that I am the best choice for this district because I have my pulse on what's going on throughout the community, throughout local businesses, throughout civic groups. I have been involved in this community over the last 7 to 8 years, and I feel that it's time for someone to step up and give the community a proper voice.
You being a Bronxite for some time now, and the community is now really getting to know you, particularly as a leader, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I was born and raised in Washington Heights in Manhattan. I went to high school here in the Bronx. I went to SUNY Stony Brooks and SUNY Farmingdale, and I was living out in Queens for a number of years. I wanted to move to the Bronx to be closer to my family, particularly my mother and my father, and I have not regretted that choice since. I started out working with the Department of Health for 13 years, and then as the community board district manager in the same community that I've lived in over the last 8 years for almost 5 years. That opportunity opened up a lot of doors to meet people, to bring the experience that I've had with the city for nearly 18 years to leverage positive benefits for the community.
Beautiful. What, married, children?
I am here today with my wife, Karen Tirado, and I have 3 children, Israel, Joshua, and Jaylani, who are very supportive of me, and I'm proud of what they do.
Beautiful. Your better half, huh?
My better.
The other side.
I'm probably like the better 3/4 are over there, and
good man.
A quarter here.
Good man. Mr. Tirado, you were previously, as you mentioned, the district manager for Community Board 7. There seemed to have been a bit of trouble in your exit due to ethics charges. I think that we should go ahead and get that clear now, if you don't mind. What can you say about your time as district manager and the particulars of your exit?
Sure. The issues with me being on the community board have always been an issue of fabrication by a small number of people on the board, and none of those charges were ever validated or ever brought up to be true. I had said time and time again, I have no qualms with expressing myself as to what happened. I am proud of the work that I've done with the community and the community board, and I think that the community board is better off for it. I continue to say that whatever allegations that people will try to dig up or try to create or fabricate at this point is nothing less than others who are trying to derail this campaign and to stop the momentum which we've gathered up to this point.
Excellent. The recent shooting on Decatur Avenue left many residents concerned about a growing crime and gang activity trend in this neighborhood in particular and other neighborhoods throughout the district. In your estimation, where did this problem begin? What's going on with this gang activity throughout the district, and what will you do as assemblyman to address this problem?
So I know that gangs arise because there is a vacuum in people's lives, whether that is households where there's only a single parent, or whether or not there is lack of education or lack of guidance for disconnected youth. I know that gangs often fill in that void for a lot of people, especially young men of color. And because of that, they get steered the wrong way. Now, as an assemblyman, we don't have direct control over the police department, but what we do have control is corrections and what can be done with the correctional system so that people who are in jail for low-level offenses are not languishing in jail for an extraordinary amount of time, particularly for something as drug possession, right, and specifically marijuana possession. That's not a crime that shouldn't be considered something where you throw away a youth's life, which is still ahead of him, over something as marijuana possession. At the same token, we have to make sure that there's not a revolving door for recidivist criminals, and we have to make sure that violent crimes are being prosecuted and that they're being followed up with, and that quality of life issues that do affect the state are being addressed. Alternatives to incarceration, for instance, is one of the projects that we can fund and that we can push. I happen to be very good friends with an organization called Bronx Community Solutions, where they do just that. They take people who have been in and out of the criminal justice system, and they put them to give back to their community, whether it's graffiti cleanup, community beautification, anything, so that they're doing their sentence in the community and giving back, as opposed to sitting in a jail, rotting, and being influenced by other career criminals who will not help them to get out of that system or break those chains.
So you wouldn't have any problem as assemblyman showing your face around when time is needed?
I've done it before.
At the forefront of the battle, correct?
I have done it before. I've gone into St. James Park, which is historically a heavily gang-influenced area. I have met with people before on their neighborhoods in Decatur, on Marion, by 194 and Fordham, to talk to people about safety and security. And I'm hoping that as an assemblyman, I can leverage my resources so that I could bring in city resources, partnering, for instance, in that neighborhood with Councilman Richie Torres to really take a crack at how do we reduce violence and recidivism.
Wonderful. Our next question about the incumbent. We have been saddened to see a complete dismissal of the democratic process by your opponent. Complete dismissal. Mr. Rivera, in decades past, has been known as a champion of labor. How would you characterize his service as assemblyman over the last 12 years in particular?
Well, to characterize his performance over the last 6 months, since I've declared my candidacy, I would say that an empty chair is an absent voice. And if we don't have a voice, and we know that that our assemblyman unfortunately has had some of the lowest attendance in the assembly, has had the least number, among the least number of bills passed in the assembly, that we have an empty seat, not just here today, but in Albany. And we, while I won't take away any of the momentum and the issues that he did champion 20, 30 years ago, over the last decade, we haven't seen that momentum continue, and our community has languished because of it.
Very true. We're going to move on to the next topic, something that's been talked about, a very hot topic in this district and at the city, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The Kingsbridge Armory.
Kingsbridge Armory.
The long-stalled development of the ice rink at the Kingsbridge Armory seems to have recently hit more roadblocks. What are your thoughts on the infamous project that seems to be stuck in the development limbo for quite some time?
I know through my work at the community board that when we had an empty building, the city spent $1 million a year to maintain an empty building. Think of all the police we could have put in, the support services for students, all the other quality of life issues. So in no time do I support an empty armory. That being said, I do look forward to seeing this project move forward. And if there are plans to do something else, and if this were not to come through, I do want to let people know that my campaign team is in the process of speaking to Koenig and Mr. Mark Messier within the next 48 hours to see what we could do to salvage this project, and if not, how do we move forward?
Is that one of your priorities in your agenda, if granted the seat?
Economic development is my flagship platform. I have talked about economic development since day one, how we have all these economic resources and that they're not being tapped into. How come that we have a district that has had double-digit unemployment since before the 2000 census, still has double-digit unemployment? How young people, especially young men of color between the ages of 18 and 24, have unemployment rates of up to 25, 30%. And then you wonder why things go bad, because there's little opportunity for them, and we need to make sure that people are getting either going back to school to getting their college diploma, and if school's not for them, to get professional development so that they could get a job that's going to help them break the cycles of poverty, break those chains, and hopefully lift them up. Everything revolves around economic development. If you don't have a job, you don't have a house. If you don't have a job, you can't afford some of the other quality of life issues. If you don't have a job, you can't eat healthier in this borough, unfortunately. And so jobs, 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 and economic development. And it's not just about working for someone else. I'm a big proponent of the mantra of learn to work for yourself. Learn to open up a business so that you can thrive and understand how a business works and be productive. There's nothing freer than being able to earn your daily bread and eat it. And I have been an entrepreneur myself. I have working with, and I'm currently working with individuals who are entrepreneurs, and it's something that we need to promote. We have the Fordham Road bid, which is the third largest bid in the city and the largest bid in the Bronx, right in the heart of the district. And what are we doing there to attract more businesses? What are we there doing to attract more entrepreneurs? What are we doing there to get people to work? We need to partner with organizations like that and others, such as Fordham University, with whatever happens in the Kingsbridge Armory, or other institutions, and put people to work.
Do you feel like an ice rink is the best use of the Armory? Why or why not?
While I am currently supporting the ice rink proposal, if I had a chance to do it over, I would probably promote some sort of business incubator space where we allow new entrepreneurs, tech startups, and other businesses to come in, operate on a subsidized rent level, tap into the services of all the colleges in the borough, which include Lehman, Monroe, Fordham, and their economic development departments, and provide people an avenue to move up socially and economically. I think that having this incubator space is a no-brainer, that we can provide space not just for people who want to start a business, but for community groups that can take that mantle and run forward, whether it's a nonprofit, a civic association, so forth. But we need to, I would seek to tie in higher education departments, continuing education departments for those who don't want to get into higher ed, and look at how we could build people up. Right? I have said before that a lot of times people don't have hope or have lost hope in this district, and we need to be able to provide, we need to be able to open doors for them so they could have that hope again.
What will you do to make sure that residents in the area are given preference for jobs in the development process and in the new businesses that end up residing in the Armory? That's big. That's been said for many years. We're going to provide jobs. We're going to have our own community jobs. But then when it comes down to it, we could find very few of us that are working.
So my concern with some of the armory jobs are that they require a higher skill set than what a lot of people in the community have. And I have said that before, that that's a concern. That being said, we should be working directly with Koenig to identify people to have a day where people in the area have first crack at those jobs. I know that the community benefits agreement has different zones, and we need to enforce that benefits agreement to make sure that whatever jobs do come in, service the people that are there first, that can contribute and stabilize the neighborhood. Now, I'm not saying to exclude everybody else from the Bronx,
Right.
but we need to take the same project and the same mentality and replicate that throughout the Bronx.
Mr. Tirado, we're going to go into small business, if you will.
Sure.
Small businesses seem to be struggling in the 78th district due to, in no small part, to factors such as rising rent and living costs, with many businesses closing their doors over the last few years, and new larger corporate developments springing up all over the Bronx, such as the malls at Bay Plaza, Broadway, and the Throgs Neck Target, as you are fully aware. What is your record in supporting small business?
So my record in supporting small business is that I have always, since I was the district manager and afterwards, helped merchant associations and small merchants to thrive, to give them technical support, to provide them the necessary tools so that they can prosper. I have actually worked with and helped to found a number of the local merchant associations, or revive them, as we should say, particularly the 204th Street Bainbridge East 204th Street Bainbridge Merchant Association, which I was instrumental with a number of people, including a good friend of mine, Michael Lambert, to bring that merchant association back after a 15-year hiatus. Additionally, I've worked with the Kingsbridge Road Merchant Association and other merchants throughout the district and outside of the district to help them with marketing, to help them with resources, to help them how to navigate city issues. I am a big proponent and would support, even on a statewide level, the Small Business Jobs Protection Act, which would give an arbitrator service or provide an arbitrator for helping to negotiate leases between small businesses and property owners. We need to understand that property owners are also small business, but you shouldn't be balancing your business on the backs of other people. One of the hardest things that I see are empty storefronts and no business in them, and then people benefiting from the fact that there is this vacancy. I would like to change that so that we have thriving businesses, provide people, everyone, with the right tools, and to understand that we're not looking to stop big malls from coming or to stop people from creating those type of projects, but we have to find a happy medium. We have to find a place where the small merchant can thrive in and around a large mall development. And how do we raise the level of competitiveness and the marketing ability? And I strongly advocate the creation of merchant associations or chambers of commerce to help do that. Together, as with any other type of community organizing, merchant organizing helps to build those walls up so that merchants can thrive. And I am and will continue to be a friend of small business.
What will you do as Assemblyman to support small businesses in the 78th District moving forward? You've mentioned earlier the obstacles before them, particularly with these big malls coming, these big name labels that could price them out.
So there's some neighborhoods where you can't develop a mall, but that merchant corridors are still struggling. I have mentioned time and time again that one of the things that we need to do for the district, particularly in 10458, is create a banking development district. This would allow small businesses, minority and women homeowners, minority and women-owned businesses to borrow, to have greater access to credit so that they could start their dream in their neighborhood and that they can employ local people. We have, in some places, 10 or more blocks where there's not a bank.
Right.
And without a bank to reinvest in the community, those communities will be stagnated or continue to stagnate. I know that some people have certain perceptions of banks I currently work with an organization at Lehman College called the Small Business Development Center, where we help to connect local bankers with local entrepreneurs to help develop the local economy. And that's where we have to fight. We have to think local, act local, and hire local.
Right.
And local business does that.
I'm glad that's a segue into our next question about the hiring part. How would you stimulate job growth among those mom and pop stores?
A lot of times what happens with mom and pop stores, they give their first job opportunity to neighborhood individuals, particularly youth, teenagers, young adults. We need to provide a way so that they can remain competitive by providing training to their folks so that they can perform the jobs that they need to, whether it's retail worker training, soft skills training, so that their business can thrive. Unfortunately, I know a lot of businesses or a lot of shoppers that won't go to a small business because they don't feel that they're treated the same way as in a larger store. So let's help do something about that. Let's help our youth. Let's help our businesses by providing them those skills so that they can become top notch and even up their game, so that we can get people the jobs that they need. And we know that that's going to be a stepping stone. Let's provide them with that ladder so that they could get up the next hurdle.
Would that be something that the merchant associations could do? Customer service training, therefore one-stop shop for all the businesses. They don't have to create it for themselves?
So we have, fortunately, a large number of colleges in the area that provide all sorts of trainings. Whether that is Microsoft Office or bookkeeping or other types of skills. We need to create soft skills training so that we can help provide people with those skills so that they can perform better at a job.
Yes.
What saddens me the most sometimes is people don't know how to write a resume, or they don't dress appropriately for a job interview. Even if it's a local place around the corner, they have a mentality where this is okay. We want to help you succeed, and to do that, we need to break certain mindsets so that we can, help you to help yourself.
Mr. Tirado, we're going to go to a subject that's been in this district for quite some time, and we'd like to address it now, and that's the Van Cortlandt Park Croton Water Filtration Plant. The Croton Water Filtration Plant, infamous for being built in Van Cortlandt Parkland that was alienated for industrial use, and notorious for the backroom deal, and pulled it through, has been a thorn in the side of Norwood residents for over 15 years now. Not to mention the proposed $200 million in park improvements that was not fulfilled, and the fact that the Bronx water bills have increased by more than 160% since 2001, 160%. Mr. Tirado, if in the same position, what would you have done?
One of my other core principles that I am running on is on the environment. And I would never alienate parkland for the purpose of constructing any type of industrial facility, especially with outdated technology that we knew was outdated in 2003. The cost overruns on that project have been astronomical. A project that was supposed to be $600 million, which everybody with two eyes and can see, or two ears that can hear, knew that was underbidded. That project has gone from $600 million to over $3.3 billion in cost overruns. And the promise of jobs, especially for people locally, has hardly materialized. We know, and at a recent meet and greet, there was a gentleman who was hired by the Croton Filtration Plant, and he was let go a few months later. They use those numbers to say, we're hiring local, look at all the people that we hire local. But there's no tracking of who's hired, how long they stay, where they come from, and all the other things that really matter to our community. That project has been a boondoggle since the minute that backdoor deal was hammered. And again, if you have to do things in the dark of night and do things behind people's back, that should be a hint that it's coming off to a bad start. That project has not just affected people in Norwood and people in the Bronx, but that's affected everyone's water bill throughout the city. And when that affects the water bills, the property owners pass that on to their tenants. So if you want to see why we have had high rent increases over the last better part of a decade. Part of that reason is because the neighborhood water bills continue to go up, or the water bills continue to go up. And as I said before, I would have never supported that project just on the basis alone of the damage that it has done to the environment. Putting an 11-story facility on the ground was not the smartest choice. Even with the supposed promise of $200 million for parkland, which again never materialized. In addition to that, the city under the Bloomberg administration took out $200 million from the Parks Department budget for the Bronx and reallocated that to other projects. So in actuality, we have lost over $300 million when it comes to park funding. We have parks that only exist on paper. We have parks that were supposed to be built that have been, the only parking has been done was parking money there to then use it for cost overruns. And I say this again because it's a particularly important park to me, or was important to me, was Regatta Park on the Harlem River, right by the 207th Street University Heights Bridge. That park was good on paper, never materialized, and will never materialize. And this is why I'm fighting so that we can have some sensible legislation, people who are going to be at the table and know the impacts of the decisions they make, and not trying to broker deals for their self-benefit.
Let's move on to our next subject, one that's been talked about for quite some time, and we're looking for some leadership on, and that's healthy food in the Bronx.
Healthy food in the Bronx.
Healthy food.
Yes.
The Bronx is the least healthy borough in all of New York City, boasting some of the highest obesity and diabetes rates in New York history. What will you do to improve food education and access to healthy food options across the 78th district?
So just to elaborate on that, we're actually the least healthiest county in New York State.
Wow.
We rank dead last at 62, and it's a shame. I will bring up my prior experience with the New York City Department of Health, where I promoted fitness and nutrition programs, particularly in the South Bronx, community boards 1 through 6, and we had to be innovative. We had to find ways to get people to eat healthier. One of the projects that I created and that I'm grateful still exists is a project called the Health Bucks program. Rather than giving out incentive items like pens and pencils and squeeze balls, stress balls, we created this coupon. And we gave people these coupons so that they could shop at farmers markets. And the impact was tremendous, so much so that that project had evolved from a $2,000 project to a $250,000 annual project to promote healthy eating across New York City. So I'm a big proponent of food and food justice, and I know a lot of the issues that are impacting us, particularly the fact that bodegas and small supermarkets do not have the purchasing power to get onto the front of the line to get healthier food choices. They also sell what is called industrial grade produce, or the produce that is the least likely, or I should say I'm sorry, loss of words. The lowest quality for human consumption allowed is called industrial grade produce. I know that most bodegas and supermarkets that do purchase fruits and vegetables that offer it have only a shelf life of a few days. And so how do we help to alleviate that? How do we help to provide fresh food options? We help New York State farmers. We help people understand that if we bring in New York State products and we sell them locally and we provide incentives for business to do upstate with business downstate, that we could turn around this diabetes, this diabetes epidemic and this obesity epidemic. Health is a lot more complicated than just the situation or solutions I just provided, but it's something that I care for, that I've done for the better part of 13 years on working on food justice and food justice issues.
Difficult, but not impossible.
Difficult, but not impossible.
So
myself,
it could be done.
Yeah, I myself am a diabetic, and I have said that time and time again. And the way I combat that is by eating smarter, taking care of myself. You know, obviously every now and then, you know, I'll have a snack or something that I might, you know, that I would normally stay away from, but it's not a lifestyle. Right. Eating healthy is a lifestyle.
Mr. Tirado, we're going to go on to the next topic, very, very sensitive, but something that we need to talk about, quite frankly, in the 78th District, and that's the schools.
Yes.
Regarding schools, what is your position regarding the teaching the Common Core?
The implementation of the Common Core has been problematic throughout the state. There are components of the Common Core that I think need to be reevaluated seriously. Common Core, we should not be teaching our kids to a test. We need to be teaching our kids actual skills and actual retention. That doesn't happen when you eliminate other programs, and it doesn't happen when you don't fund every school equally. That being said, our schools are falling behind on the Common Core curriculum because they don't have or include other subjects such as music, such as art, such as physical education, even though they're required to, especially for physical education. We know that drilling 6 or 7-year-old doesn't happen. You know, children, unfortunately, they have very short attention spans, and they have to repeat things and repeat things and repeat things. But they also have to move. They have to get around and do the things that children are built to do. That being said, we seriously need to reconsider how we implement Common Core. If Common Core is not going to work for us, then we need to be able to push back as parents to say that something needs to change. I have and had 3 children in the public school system. One of them is a special needs student. And I fight with teachers and administrators, it seems like an endless amount of time, I would say over 15 years, over the inadequacies of how teaching is being delivered or how material is being delivered. I think the Common Core has been especially stressful since its rollout, and I would like to see some changes done.
More and more charter schools are opening across the borough, as you know. What do you think about the position charter schools play in our troubled education landscape?
I know that for many charter schools, they have been a haven. They have been a great resource for a lot of parents. They have been able to do things that unfortunately, some of our schools have not been able to do over decades. That being said, I support charter schools, but I do not support the co-location of schools, of charter schools in existing public schools. The reason for that is what we're doing is we're tightening a noose around existing students, and we're causing them to perform lower, and we're causing them to experience additional stress because now they have to compete with a privately grant-funded charter school and who has additional resources to do certain things. I have seen and witnessed children being taught in closets, in hallways, in cafeterias, in gymnasiums, and in the process they cut out gym for some classes just to be able to deliver regular subjects. So do we need charter schools? Yes. We need to hold a higher education standard, and whatever model works for parents and students first, right? Because as a parent and the parent of 3 public school students, it has to work for me. If it doesn't work for me, then something else has to work for me.
Right, correct.
And at the same time, we have to support our existing educational solutions, but understand that they play a role. They play a role that they're taxpayer funded, that they work for us, and that they should be working in our best interest and in the best interest of our children. And if charter schools are a solution, they should not be pushing back against that solution. I understand, as I mentioned before, with co-location, that is a problem. And we can work to address those issues. But we need to support any and every opportunity that's going to elevate our kids and break cycles of poverty so that they're not stuck in it and that the next generation is not stuck in it.
Or feel alienated. I love that point that you said. When you have co-locations, they see somebody else getting other things. They walk down the same block.
But not only do they see somebody getting other things, but there are things that are getting taken away from them.
Wow.
Their space, right? Their access to a gym, to gym time. Their access to, to a place to eat where they could actually learn. I mean, you tell me, can you hear a conversation, or could you process something if you had to sit around 400 other people eating at the same time?
Can't be done.
It's not where you do business.
It's not gonna happen.
And that's not where you teach our kids.
Let's go on to a great topic, and one that was brought up here by the organization that has housed us today, and once again we want to thank them for this opportunity. They really came through. The GI Bill. We're going to talk about our veterans. As you know, the Bronx has many veterans, along with the Veterans Affairs location. One of the main goals of Devil Dog USA is to help struggling veterans secure housing. But there are still many homeless veterans in the district who have trouble communicating with landlords and brokers. What will you do as assemblyman to facilitate communication between veterans and local businesses so that they're not swept under the table or forgotten?
Okay, so first I'd like to touch on my record in what I have done in the past as the district manager for helping to address veteran homelessness and veteran issues. I have worked extensively with organizations like the Jericho Project to push along or to move along their project in the district on 194th Street between Briggs and Marion that provided 56 units of housing for permanent housing for our veterans. We have also worked to try to find other ways to provide permanent housing. At one point, there was an organization that came and wanted to provide transitional housing. Transitional housing is not a solution for our veterans. We need to provide incentives so that organizations who are going to serve veterans and their needs, and their needs should be met given their service to our country, we need to provide them with the ability to have something as basic that we take for granted as a home. One of my things that I have been, issues that I have been trying to champion is while providing a home for veterans is extremely important, providing them with a support structure so that they could continue to live and work and thrive is important. Yes. And that means creating housing not just for homeless veterans, but homeless veterans with their families. Right? Every veteran housing that has been constructed has been provided for the veteran alone. But if you take away their support structure and force the veteran to live away from his wife and his kids, or their husband and their kids, you're doing a disservice. You're not addressing problems. And when that person needs that support structure to help them get through tough times, and there are a lot of tough times that they face, we've cut the rug under them. So one of the things I would like to do is provide an opportunity for developers to develop housing for veterans with their family. Take some of the money that's currently set aside for housing development, affordable housing development, and make that a target. And there are plenty of places right here on 3rd Avenue, in Belmont, on the Grand Concourse, in other parts of the district that we can seek that development and push that development.
A lot of development coming up in the district.
Yes.
Now and in the future.
Now and in the future, and now is the right time to plan.
Yes.
You know, if we don't have a plan, we plan to fail.
That's right. That's right. What are other proposals do you have in your mind, to help struggling veterans within your district? What are some other things you got planned, if granted this position, to really support them?
So I'm going to touch back on something that I mentioned earlier, and that is economic development and entrepreneurship. We have programs now to help veteran entrepreneurs become self-sufficient, to start up their own business, to grab a piece of the American dream. Some people think that owning a home is the American dream. Well, a good part of the American dream is being able to have your own business, as I said before, being able to earn your daily bread and contribute. And veterans have those skills. They develop those skills in the armed forces. Let's help them to become self-sufficient and help them to succeed by providing them access to financing, providing them with access to training so that they could start their own business, providing them with resources so they can meet other veteran entrepreneurs and network. We have a lot of those resources now. They're underfunded. And we need to be able to do something to market better to our veterans so that they can take advantage of those projects.
We want to thank you for staying tuned in and staying informed. Be sure to follow us on thebronxchronicle.com and on Facebook and Twitter. If you have any comments or questions on the statements that were made here today, you can submit them in our comments section. And we would like to impress on all citizens of the 78th Assembly District and across the Bronx that no matter who you support, remember to vote in the Democratic primary on September 9th and the election on November 4th. I'm your host, Coach Lynn. Have a great day.